Hey guys, welcome to Reporter Room. I am here with my very special guests, John and Brandie Davis from John Davis True Crime. And if you are not subscribed to them, you will want to be. They are one of the best true crime content creators here on YouTube. And we're going to be talking today about the Kylie Rodni case. And we're also going to be talking about some new information on an interview that John and Brandie conducted with Tim Mullen, and that's Don Wells' media manager. So we're going to be talking about the Summer Wells case. And John has also been doing some searches for Summer on his own, and we're going to delve into that also. So we're going to start with the Summer Wells case. And I just want to start out by just saying to you guys, I want to talk about Adventures with Purpose for just a second, because I saw a little bit of negativity, and I just want to just quell that. Because we all knew that they were going to sneak out with this, and I don't mean Adventures with Purpose. We all knew they were going to sneak out law enforcement with the autopsy, right? We knew that.
Right.
And so that's what happened. And of course, who would they want you guys to focus your upsetness at? The people who found Kylie, right? The people they told not to search Lake Prosser. According to them, they always said that they were told by law enforcement not to search Lake Prosser or Prosser Reservoir. So they started at the Donner Reservoir and then went over to the Boca Reservoir. So I just want to say that, to their embarrassment, Adventures with Purpose found Kylie Rodni. So I am still standing behind them, and I don't want to do anything negative about content creators in the live chat. So let's keep it classy. I did pass out some new wrenches today too, so some of you guys may be popping in and surprised to find out that you guys are moderators. So our viewers on Reporter Room tend to be critical thinkers, which means they like to have all the evidence and make up their own minds. And so if that's what you're interested in, you are in the right place. So I want to just start by thanking some important people to the channel. I want to thank our executive producers. I'd like to thank our producers. I'd like to thank our awesome channel members. And I'd also like to thank all of you who have it in your hearts to take the time to subscribe to our channel. And if you're not subscribed, please do. You will also want to make sure that you are subscribed to John Davis True Crime, because Don Wells is going to be getting out in just a couple of weeks, and John and Brandie Davis are all over the case. They cover other cases too, but I'm so impressed with the work that they're doing on the Summer Wells case. So everything that John, Brandie, and I are sharing today is our opinion, and opinions are not facts. So please don't send any negativity to anyone, anytime, anywhere. This video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. So feel free to do your own research. So let's get started. So John, what I'm going to do is just play a little bit, and then I want to pull up your interview. John did a really interesting interview with Tim Mullen, and we're going to go into that in just a minute, but we're going to start with the Kylie Rodni case, because that's what's, everybody's really feeling upset about the way that law enforcement came out with this information. John, why do you think they came out with this information without having a press conference like they've done with us in the past?
I'm super confused on how things played out, because I really felt like when they made the release date, it was supposed to be November 1st. Ain't that right? When they were going to release the autopsy results?
Yes.
I don't understand it. I'm really confused how this is playing out, because I really thought didn't look like to me they were doing much of an investigation into the accident theory.
Right.
You know, when they didn't, it didn't seem like they done much work when the car was found and all that. I kind of felt like law enforcement was going to, I didn't think they were going to lean toward accident. And I was shocked when I heard that they had already ahead of the schedule decided to go that way.
I thought so too. How did you feel about it, Brandie?
I think they did it so there wouldn't be tons of attention on it, trying to just slip it out there slowly, you know. I don't think it was right. I really don't. I thought something was up though, because probably everybody's seen the video of it was nighttime in her car supposedly going into the water. When that came out, I'm like, this is out there for a purpose. I bet they're getting ready to release her autopsy. And I was right, like 2 to 3 days before that. I was like, something's up.
Yeah, because they had the video. Why, if they knew this video, why didn't they use the video to find Kylie Rodni if it was there the whole time? I think this is a question that's on a lot of people's minds.
Yes.
What do you think?
Yeah, it was on my mind, definitely. Because supposedly they had the video, you know, right after she went missing. So it don't make any sense, you know. It would have took a lot of gossiping and stuff off the case if they released it earlier. If that's what they really thought, you know. So
Yeah.
Right. What did you think, John?
Yeah, I thought the timing of when that video come out was awful odd too,
Yeah.
because we, you know, apparently you would think they've had that video all along. You know, I don't know why you wouldn't release that in the very beginning.
yeah, me either.
And it would have squashed a lot of rumors, you know, like all the stuff about when the car went into the water. It would have took care of a lot of that. The timing is so odd to me of when things are happening.
It is odd. It is odd. You're right. And it's odd because and I think this is, another question that I'm seeing popping up a lot, that people just really feel like, well, if they had this video the whole time, if it was there the whole time, why didn't they use the cameras to find Kylie's car? Why did Adventures with Purpose have to come in at all to do their work for them?
Right.
Exactly.
It don't make sense.
What do you think, John? Do you think it was there the whole time, or do you think it took them time to access it?
You wouldn't have thought it would have took that long to access it,
No.
you know. Well, there's people that are, you know, monitoring the cameras or keeping up with them, whatever. You would have thought day number one they would have said, hey, we have a camera that should have a great shot of this,
Right.
and giving it straight to them, because I think it's the Forestry Service,
Mm-hmm.
my understanding, that was over the cameras.
Yeah.
That makes no sense to me
Yeah.
at all.
I agree with you. I mean, wouldn't that be the first thing you would check, is your cameras, to see,
Yep.
Instead of holding up the wrong sweatshirt, the Lana Del Rey sweatshirt, and then the pink and white one, and it turns out she really was in that black tank bodysuit.
Right.
So, why not access the cameras first? What did you think about that, Brandie? Because I thought that was so sketchy and weird.
Yeah, I do too. I still don't believe myself it was accident. I think there's something more to it. It's just too much going on, like stuff I don't understand, you know. So I think they just released it. They had it the whole time. I don't know why they didn't release it before, but I think they released it before the autopsy came out to let people, start to believe that maybe it was accident, to get under that mindset. So when it did come out, there's not a big old uproar.
Right.
I can't talk, or you know what I'm saying. But
That makes sense, Brandie. And it worked on some people, and then other people are having just the opposite reaction. And I'm seeing this in the comment section. I'm seeing this on social media, on Twitter and on Facebook, where people are just having a knee-jerk reaction of just like not having faith that that her autopsy and toxicology were conducted properly. And then seeing that the sheriff, who is Shannon Moon, is the same person who's the coroner who's signing off on this, is also raising a lot of red flags with a lot of people. And what do you guys think? Do you think that there's a conflict of interest there, or do you think it's just a small town and that's the way it goes sometimes?
See, I had heard that the coroner and the sheriff were one and the same. I wasn't, until you said it now, I wasn't positive about that. That is wild to me that the sheriff is doubling as the coroner. That gives them pretty much total control over the outcome of any investigation.
Right.
If nobody's following that sheriff and holding them accountable, I mean, they can tell you whatever they want. Who's going to argue it?
Right.
Right.
Normally if a sheriff says something, the coroner could dispute it and say, well, that's not what the autopsy shows. When they're both the same person, who's holding them accountable?
Right.
Great point. Well, I'm going to play a little bit of video, and then I want to get you guys' reaction to it. And this one, we're still on the Kylie Rodni case. If you're just joining us, my special guests today are John and Brandie Davis from John Davis True Crime. And they are friends of Reporter Room. And if you are not subscribed to their channel, you will want to be. They are outstanding content creators, and they have done some great investigative work into the search for Summer Wells, which we're going to share with you tonight. And they've also conducted an interview with Tim Mullen, who is Don Wells' media manager. And we're going to delve into that as well tonight. But we're starting off with the Kylie Rodni case because this is weighing heavy on so many people's minds and hearts. What you guys are thinking right now. Let's go ahead and talk about what the report shows. We always knew that it was going to be very hard to determine what happened to her due to the amount of time that she spent in the water. We know that she went in the water on August 6th. We have that on video, right? And we know that Adventures with Purpose found her on August 21st, and we have that on video also. I'm reading a lot of comments on social media as to why Kylie's lungs were not filled with water, and a lot of people feel really suspicious about this. So I want to talk about this with you so that we can come to a conclusion together. So let's talk about that. There's been so much. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's been so much suspicious feeling about this whole thing of, her lungs didn't. I know a lot of people have been talking about Bella and Cece from the Chris Watts case, and they're comparing the weight. And I don't know if this is another content creator, to their lungs to Kylie Rodni. I'm wondering why there would be a difference. And I just want to share that Bella and Cece were in oil tanks. They were in oil tanks. So they would have been, their lungs, in my opinion, would have been filled with oil. And so I don't think it's that in and of itself is like setting off alarms for me. And I think that also when you have this kind of a situation, you can have what's called the laryngospasm in about 20% of the cases, where it just shuts as the water comes in. And that's how we get to what we in the mainstream media like to refer to as a dry drowning. And we talked about this a little bit on the Summer Wells case. And I was wondering if you thought that could be a possibility in this case also. Except Summer Wells, we decided it was probably a secondary just because of the time frame, not dry.
I don't know. I'm still trying to come to terms with it was a drowning. I don't know. Like you were saying with the thing in the Chris Watts case, I don't know how you would compare the two because of the circumstances, like you said. I don't know.
It's so weird, right? I mean,
it's weird, yeah.
I think a lot of people just really feel like she was placed in the back, and that, it wouldn't be possible that it could have been like a, type of a dry drowning. But in about 20% of the cases, that does happen. But let's continue on together, guys. Let's continue on. because I do want to answer all of your questions in the chat. And Rhiann Evans is saying, let me see if I can grab that. Rhiann is saying, it's as frustrating as I thought she had died before she went in the water. And she's talking to another person. And I get it. I get it. I think it is really frustrating for a lot of people who, feel very suspicious of the way that this all happened. Submerged underwater from the 6th till the 21st. That's a long time. We know that the lungs do gas exchange in the alveoli. So we have the bronchioles, and then we have the branches of the bronchioles, and then we have these little grape-like sacs called alveoli, and this is where oxygen is exchanged with CO2. We exhale carbon dioxide, we inhale oxygen. Would her lungs be filled with water? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. It may not mean anything at all, and I want to share with you why. For those of you who have been following Reporter Room for a long time, you know that in the Summer Wells case, I've talked a lot about secondary drowning, but I want to talk a little bit about dry drowning, because I think that may have occurred here, and it does occur in about 20% of all drowning cases. And this is when the laryngo, which is this part, spasms. It spasms when water's trying to enter, and it will close shut, and it will not allow water to enter. So the person isn't inhaling the water, but they still pass because oxygen is not getting to the brain. So they will still pass of suffocation. We also have Kylie, who was submerged underwater for a long time, from the 6th to the 21st. And we know that these little alveoli sacs, they pass gases. Well, the water can also get through. So we have water that could have been going into the lungs. We also have the fact that water could have also been exiting the lungs. So the fact that the lungs don't weigh more than a typical pair of lungs is really neither here nor there in what happened to Kylie. So for me, that in and of itself is not raising a red flag. Now, I have red flags around some other things, but that, yeah, I have a lot of red flags about other things, but for me, the lungs, having the water in the lungs or not having the water in the lungs, or how much they weigh in comparison to two children who were found in oil tanks, doesn't set off big alarms. But what does set off an alarm for me is still that 1236 phone call. And this is why I think that law enforcement should have done a press release when they released this information, so that, we could have asked questions. Because if Kylie went into the water, and we have all seen the video of her car going into the water around 12:33, 12:34, what was the 1236 phone call about, do you think, John?
I guess there's always the chance that the clock could be off. I know I've seen that come up many a time where it turns out the clock was an hour off, 5 minutes off, something to that effect. I mean, that's the only way I think you could logically explain it. I don't know. I have trouble trusting Sami, so I don't know what to think about the phone call. Sami is, like I said before, she seems really sketchy to me in the things she says and does. So
Right.
I'm not sure what to make about the phone call. It doesn't seem possible.
No.
Right?
Yeah, go ahead. Right. The car's in the water at 12:36 already, and it's been in there for a few minutes. So either the timestamp on the clock's wrong, or something doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense.
Are you saying the clock on the camera?
Yeah,
the footage?
the timestamp on the video. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it could be. I don't think it's realistic that she could have called while she's going underwater. I guess she could have, but that would be awful hard,
Yeah. And if she did call, it wouldn't be to ask to offer a ride home at that point.
Oh, yeah.
It would be to probably beg for help, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And this is where I wish law enforcement would have just come out and given us a press conference, because this is just some, very basic questions that I think we all have. What about this 12:30 inch? 12:36 is a pretty specific time that she gave us. And again, maybe there is a glitch on the phones. That's very possible. maybe Kylie's dialed her, but she described a phone call where Kylie called her to offer her a ride home.
Very strange.
And I just don't understand how Kylie could be seen going into the water. And this is where I just want to talk about some of these things through with everyone, because I think this is the stuff that people can't put the pieces together on, and you know, to make this puzzle fit, to
Oh,
make the puzzle fit.
Yeah.
it makes you have more questions, not answers. So
Yeah, it does. And
Right.
That call was from Sami to Kylie or Kylie to Sami?
Kylie.
Sami characterized the call as being from Kylie to Sami to offer Sami a ride home. And I always had like a red flag for this particular phone call, because I thought it was so bizarre that she would be calling to offer her a ride home when Sami said that she told her goodbye, told her that she loved her, and told her to stay safe and gave her a hug. That's a
Right.
lot of things to just forget,
Yeah, that doesn't.
you know, within a 15-minute time frame. And then to call and offer a ride home. Now, if she was really out of it, I guess, but then when we see the car going in the water, it really doesn't make sense that this would be the nature of this particular phone call. And that's why a lot of
Right.
people are just feeling like, you know, red flags. And I just really wish that we had gotten some kind of a press conference with law enforcement and from law enforcement to answer some very basic questions to try to make this puzzle fit.
Yeah.
And if you're just joining us, my special guests today are John and Brandie Davis from John Davis True Crime. If you're not subscribed to them, you will want to be. And please also consider subscribing to Reporter Room. We tend to have critical thinkers on this channel. So if you like a channel that gives you different points of view without telling you what to think, then you are in the right place. So everybody's on slow mo, Gigi. I have it on a 45-second delay to give the mods time. Okay, so let's continue on, guys. Let's continue on. That is not one of them. I've read a lot of social media comments that people are really frustrated about the autopsy report because it didn't give the information that people were expecting. And what I think happened in this situation is they were left because law enforcement failed to find Kylie, and yes, failed. And they did not find her. And then they told Adventures with Purpose that they had cleared Lake Prosser, and Adventures with Purpose started over at the Donner and Boca reservoirs, respectively, and then came over to Lake Prosser, again, delaying when they searched Lake Prosser. Because of these delays, we are left with them being forced to just simply rule things out, then land on a manner of death. So they couldn't consider that any trauma happened to the exterior of her body because of the condition of how she was found. And let's talk about this because, you know, we've all considered the whole Fight Club scenario where we know that they were having friendly fights, and you have a bunch of intoxicated teenagers gathered around with boxing gloves on. What could possibly go wrong in that scenario? And that was a scenario that a lot of people thought that maybe something happened to Kylie in that sense, because one of the first rules of the first couple rules of Fight Club are not to talk about it, but the 8th rule in Fight Club is you have to fight. And so they weren't able, because of the amount of time that was found, to really determine very much from her skin. And that's another thing that I'm seeing coming up over and over from people is just, you know, what really happened to Kylie. What do you think, John?
I don't know, but I tell you, when I seen the diver come up after he had seen Kylie, now this guy, I know that is not the first person he's seen after they had passed. if you see that picture, there's a still picture of him that's been around a lot. Right when he pops up, he doesn't look like he has seen something he expected to see.
Right.
And that's why I always felt like they had this suspicion of foul play. And I thought it could have possibly been some kind of injury or possibly lack of clothing, something like that, besides just where she was found. Because the guy, he really looks like to me he's seen something that he did not expect to see.
Right.
He did. His face was shocked when
Yes.
he came up. What did you think, Brandie? When and his name is Nick Wren from when the diver came up.
Oh, I agree. And I think he even, maybe not him, but the other guy. What was his name? I forget. The other AWP.
Guy with
The one with the beard?
Yeah. I think they were talking too. And I think he said something like it almost, it wasn't, it, something was up, is basically how he put it. So, you know, and they had a lot of interviews too. Some of the answers they gave, you know, makes me think red flags, you know, just certain stuff they say, which I understand now they're coming out and supporting the law enforcement. What else can you do? You know, I guess they could fight against it, but you know,
Yeah, I agree.
hard, you know,
in a bad position.
Yeah, it really does.
I agree. I agree with you both because, you know, if they're in a no-win position, they can't really come out and come against law enforcement because they'll never be invited out to do another case again.
Right.
So they're kind of in a catch-22. Is that what you were thinking as well, John?
Yeah, exactly. And you know, what can they do? They have no real option. They're not going to probably be able to do anything to change law enforcement's mind for sure, because it seems like they're pretty set on what they're doing. So I would like to see the rest of the video with the tow truck driver. I would love to see that.
The road assistant. Yeah.
And I'm hoping, you know, I don't see where it should be offensive to law enforcement since it was an accident.
Right.
There's nothing to it, and we're all looking into something that's not there. So I would really like for them to release that. And, you know, I don't see it being offensive to law enforcement if they did.
Yeah.
I agree. And I don't know if their hands are tied because there's some kind of other investigation going on. We've heard, you know, from Sheriff Moon on this, but we haven't heard from the FBI. And is there something else open still that we don't know about yet? Or is this just case closed? And again, and that's why I just wish that they would have come forward with a press conference. They were so good about doing the press conferences right up until Kylie was found. And then they shut it down.
Well, it's like the questions, you know, you're asking right now. I don't think they have answers for those. And I think they know if they do a press conference, that's going to leave them wide open to look to showing us they don't have good answers for simple questions like the timing and everything else.
I agree.
And that's why they released it, you know, they tried to do it low key and slide it out there. And, you know, I think they were hoping people would accept it, and that's where we're at, you know?
Yeah, the timing was so sketchy because everybody was focused on Leilani and Quentin.
Yeah.
And the mainstream media was, you know, Leilani apparently admitted that she did it. And then they slid this out. And I knew they were going to do something slippery. And that's why they put that November 1st date, because that date never made sense, right?
Yeah.
Well, it didn't make sense to me. It still doesn't make sense to me why you put it that far out, because in a case like this where you got so much suspicion of foul play and everything, I would think you'd want to squash it as soon as possible. And definitely if you were confident that this was an accident, you'd put it out the second you could. And if they were confident, they would have done the press conference.
Yeah.
They're not.
They're not.
In my opinion.
They don't.
That makes a lot of sense. What do you think, Brandie?
Yeah, they didn't do the press conference because they didn't have answers to most of the questions, you know. That made sense, you know. So I agree. Same thing. And with the road assistant video, they could have put that out sooner too if there's nothing to it, you know. That would took a lot of gossip, you know, people stop talking about it, it would clear it
Excellent
up,
point.
you know.
Excellent point. You're right, Brandie. You are so right about that. All right, well, let's continue on together, guys. Let's continue on. So let's talk about Kylie's risk a little bit, and then I want to get into some of the mess ups of law enforcement and some things that I think are kind of shady on law enforcement and the Truckee way. So we're going to talk about that in just a moment. So please stay with me. So high risk drownings, it can vary by age. Nearly half of all fatal and non-fatal drownings for ages 15 and higher occur in a lake. Because alcohol impairs their judgment, it impairs their reaction time. When she knew that she was going into the water, how fast did she hit the brakes? Did this impair her reaction time? We know that there was a window that was smashed out, that this happened when the car rolled. Did somebody smash out the window? But water would have been pouring in, and we know that this back window behind her was down as far as it would go, which is about halfway down. So water would have been pouring in, and maybe she didn't know she could get out. But the average person can hold their breath for about 30 seconds. You can go longer. You can hold 1 to 2 minutes. A lot of people can hold their breath for 2 minutes. But on average, in these kind of circumstances where people are panicking, it goes around 30 seconds. So Healthline says that drowning is a form of death by suffocation, and death occurs after the lungs take in water. But as I said, you can have also what's called, and this is just a term that's used by the mainstream media, but it's called a dry drowning. And this is when the laryngospasm happens and the water isn't pouring into the lungs, but it's pouring into the throat. The spasm causes it to close, and then the body suffocates from the inside outward. Let's talk about some of the things that law enforcement rolled out, okay, to help them get to this particular consensus of where they've determined that she drowned. And let's look at some of the pieces of the puzzle that we just don't have, and they don't have either. And this is because of how long it took them to find her. First, we were waiting for the toxicology, because as I shared with you, they needed that. They need that to charge somebody. They need that to hold somebody accountable. And I always thought that this whole time that we were holding for November 1st, because they had maybe some kind of a delay in the toxicology or some kind of an issue with the toxicology. But now we're finding that they couldn't get the fluid from inside her eye, which would be the vitreous humor. And instead they were pulling fluid from her liver. The gold standard, being how long she was submerged, would have been to get it from her eye, but instead they were forced to pull from the liver. So I don't even feel like we have a complete toxicology report. Do you think that the report is complete and is showing everything? Or do you think that maybe they weren't able to get a good enough sample from the liver to be able to determine what happened? And why, if they know she was intoxicated, why aren't they holding anybody accountable for what happened to her? Who provided the teens with this? Who gave the kids substances? Who gave the kids alcohol? What do you think, John?
I tell you, I don't want, now this is just a thought I had when her mom made the statement about honor in silence, and when Sammy kept saying they were going back to her car, getting drinks and stuff like that. It made me think maybe it was mom. I don't know. I don't know that. That's just a thought I had that would make sense, because I kept that honor in silence statement never made sense to me. And then, if you look at it like that, it seems to me that's a possibility, and that would explain why she may be quick to accept whatever.
Wow, that's a really interesting take. I haven't heard that one before. This is why I love to watch John and Brandie Davis on John Davis True Crime Guys. It's a great channel. What do you think, Brandie?
I don't think the autopsy, or the toxicology report, it didn't seem complete to me. Like, I don't know. I didn't feel like it was thorough.
What was the alcohol level they found?
It was she was intoxicated, but not like to the point where you would forget a phone conversation that
Right.
you had, or somebody saying goodbye to you, 10 or 15 minutes ago. She was just, intoxicated. Some drinks, nothing like what was described by Jane Doe number 2, where she was like super intoxicated. So, but they had to get it from the liver, and she was submerged from August 6th till August 21st.
Right.
I beg your pardon, Brandie?
Yeah.
I didn't catch that. What did you say, Brandie? Can you guys hear me?
There's a delay.
I think we're freezing up a little.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was just saying, even Sami was talking. Was.
I can hear you.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I think there's a delay. Are you able to hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. No, I was just saying, even Sami said how, intoxicated she was, like her levels would have been a lot higher. So I didn't understand that part.
Yeah. She talked about them drinking from the same drinks, throwing glow sticks. And, she conveniently did put the alcohol in Kylie's car. And I always was like you guys, I had red flags about Sami, but maybe you're right. Maybe John is making a point here that the honor and silence is because the alcohol really was in Kylie's car. And Sami wasn't just making that up. It's a great catch, John. Great catch. All right, well, let's continue on, guys, because we have a lot to get through. When we're finished doing Kylie Rodney, we have new information on the Summer Wells case. John and Brandie interviewed Don Wells' media manager, Tim Mullen, and we are going to show you guys some of that information in just a moment. Oops, that's not the right way. I didn't do that right. Okay. Unfortunately, a lot of people were talking about using the vitreous humors, which come from the eyes. If you read through the report, and I'm not going to read it out to you. There's a lot of other channels that have already done that. You've probably seen it already, but that's the gold standard, is to get the fluid from the eyes in the case of when a body is submerged. They weren't able to get that, and we know from the autopsy report it's because there was some damage to the eyes. So instead, they had to take their tox sample from her liver. So this is not the gold standard. It's still acceptable, but it's not the gold standard. So could there have been more in her tox screen? Possibly. Her report says that her eyes were, and I'm reading this, discolored from the decomposition. That's an exact quote. So, as likely as the lungs are to expand with water, right, and get bigger and increase their weight, it's just as likely that the water can cause the lungs to collapse. They can cause the lungs to collapse, and that may have been what happened here. They do say that there was a moderate decomp of the lungs in the parenchyma. So what is the parenchyma? It's just simply an architecture of the lungs where it's literally just tissues. Law enforcement messed up so badly here that, I don't know if we'll ever get the full story of everything that happened to Kylie. Would we have had more information had she been found sooner? Yeah, we would. So this whole report and this determination on what happened to Kylie, her manner, and I'm watching my words here, this is all done by just excluding things. They just had to rule out this and rule out that. And some of it was excluded because of the condition that she was found in. Will there be? I think that's really telling, because I do think that they just ended up, they couldn't rule in any kind of, incident that could have happened in the Fight Club because her body was in such bad condition. And, it just kind of goes back to, how do you miss her they said the water level lowered. So when Adventures with Purpose was there, it was 10 feet to 12 to 14 feet. So add 3 feet to that, it would be 13 to 17 feet. You can, and the car is 6 feet. You can snorkel with a snorkel mask. You don't even need fancy scuba equipment for that to see that. What did you think about the fact that they had the video of the car going into the water, but somehow they couldn't find her 55 feet offshore?
That's what gets to me even more now, is knowing now about this video and thinking that, I thought it was bad they missed the car the first time, not knowing there was any such video or any camera that would have it on that. Now it just seems almost past irresponsible to inept or incompetent. And that's why I think a lot of people have a lot of trouble having a lot of faith in the police after how they've done bungled finding the car. If they would have went to that camera, they would have seen this, and she probably wouldn't have been in the water a day, 2 tops, and we would have very accurate results because you wouldn't have had the 2 weeks of decomposition from being in the water.
Right.
So,
excellent point, John. What do you think, Brandie?
I think they looked over the camera footage. I don't think maybe they didn't, look at it like they should, or they would have found, that she went into the water from the start, and it would have solved a lot of the issues, So I can't believe that would be probably the main evidence I would sit there and be won over,
Yeah, you would think that would be the first thing, and that they had to have known early on about that camera.
Yeah.
You would think. I don't know how they couldn't.
Yeah.
I think, you would look for surveillance videos of anything, her leaving, checking the route home for doorbell cams, all this and that. I would think there had to be somebody that realized that camera should shine right at where the party and all this was going on, and they would have seen it. That's why.
Great evidence, yeah.
Law enforcement's brought a lot of this doubt on themselves by the things they've done.
Yeah. And just think, if they did look at the video and found her sooner, we wouldn't be here talking about it. The case would have been solved, and it was probably an accident. But now, there's so much that goes into it. Everybody's thinking, there's something not right here.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and if they had come with a press release and answers with the autopsy, maybe held it for another few days and get your ducks in a row, and talk about the video footage. And when you first found it, did you find it when the YouTubers found it, or did you just come forward with some basic information? And it just seems like they just kind of waited till the mainstream media was focused on another case and then just slid the information out. And I felt like maybe they would want to redeem themselves after they missed her in the Prosser Reservoir, after they missed her.
Yeah.
But it seems like they're just, they say when you're in a hole, stop digging. It just seems like they just keep digging. And I think, go ahead, John.
Yeah, they're not helping themselves any at all. Everybody was still so. I don't think anybody come over the shock that AWP found her car where they did. I don't think people were quite over that. And then we find out they had footage of it going in the water the whole time and couldn't find it. It just makes them look so bad that nobody is going to be 100% behind anything they would tell us now. I would be suspicious if they went out and arrested Sami. I would be like, maybe that's a cop out too, because they bungled it so bad already. They've really done it to themselves.
But I think even if they didn't have the answers, they should have still came out with a press conference and just let everybody know, like, we don't have a lot of the answers, but we will deliver the information we have, So they just avoided it altogether,
Excellent point, Brandie. And if you're just joining us, my guests tonight are John Davis True Crime. John and his wife, Brandie, are here with us. And if you're not subscribed to their channel, you will want to be. And everything that John Davis True Crime, John and Brandie and I are all sharing is just our opinion. And opinions are not facts. So please don't send any negativity to anyone. This video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. And please consider subscribing to Reporter Room. We are a critical thinkers channel. So If you are a critical thinker and you like to have all of the information, you will want to do that. You will want to subscribe. And my computer's trying to restart itself. There, it's still trying. I am so happy when Microsoft lets me use my own computer with all their updates. Anyway, we just have a little bit more to get through, and then we're going to go on. And John and Brandie have been doing such interesting work on the Summer Wells case. They have an interview that they conducted with Tim Mullen, which is the Don Wells media manager, that we're going to talk about. I want to get their thoughts on the interview that they conducted, and they've been out doing their own searches for Summer. So we have a lot of interesting things to get into. So let's continue on. Let's finish this up, and then we'll continue on with that. Any accountability in Truckee for contributing to the delinquency of a minor? Will there be any accountability for providing substances like alcohol to a 16-year-old girl? I'm very sad to say it doesn't feel like it. It doesn't feel like it. I feel like this report was, and this is just my opinion, that this report was snuck out while everybody on the mainstream media was covering Quentin's case. Will there be any accountability for what happened to Kylie in Truckee? In my opinion, no. They're not going to hold anybody accountable because it's not the Truckee way. So there will be no charging for the delinquency of a minor. No one gets in trouble for providing substances that did contribute, in my opinion, to what happened to her, because it would have slowed and impaired her reaction time, right? It would have impaired her judgment, right? The way they slid this information out while the mainstream media was focused on Quentin and what was going on with Quentin and Leilani was sketchy. And it's what we all thought they were going to try to do, and it's exactly what they did. So, do you guys think there's going to be any accountability for whoever provided this 16-year-old girl? And there were other underage kids at this party too, because remember, Sami told us that it was a senior farewell party, but they had invited undergraduates to come. So there were freshmen and sophomore and junior kids there too. Do you think anyone's going to be held accountable?
I doubt it. Why do we have an echo now? I think, they said there were older people there as well at the time at the party. Who knows if they ever got them on footage or not, but I don't think they're really worried about it. I think they're just, they are not going to bring no more attention to this than they have to. I think they showed that by, like we were talking about, how they released the autopsy report and stuff. I don't see anybody. No, regretfully, no, because I think that's a big problem with why things keep happening like they do. Like, you mentioned Quentin's case earlier. I think there were 4 people in that house and a babysitter that, to me, should have some kind of action taken for not reporting, what was happening to Quentin.
Yeah.
You're
right.
I'm a big believer in personal responsibility. Mm-hmm. And as long as nothing's happening to you for not doing the right thing, there are people that are not going to do the right thing. There's no consequences for this stuff.
No.
You're right. You're right. What do you think, Brandie?
No, I don't think nobody's going to be held accountable. I really don't. I think they're just trying to get the focus off of them. They're done with it. They want people to quit talking about it, which we won't, but, they just want the focus off of law enforcement in that area, I think. They're over it.
Yeah.
They're just trying to put something out there, and be done with it, in my opinion.
You're getting some good positive in the chat there, John and Brandie. I think you're right. And I think that I don't think anybody, originally I thought we were getting this hold because they were going to get their ducks in a row and somebody was going to be held accountable. After all, a 16-year-old innocent girl is no longer with us. But it doesn't seem like that's the Truckee way. And I'm so disappointed. But we're going to delve into the Summer Wells case a little bit. Let me grab that video because let me present this. I went in, and we'll start with the Tim Mullen one, if that's okay with you guys.
That's fine. I want to say something in my defense first.
Go ahead.
I didn't feel like, I had a little bit of back and forth with Tim. People wanted me to ask all this stuff. He wasn't going to answer it. And you can see by some of the answers he did give me that I really tried to ask questions that I thought I would get answers to instead of one word, no, yes. So
Yeah.
I know a lot of people would like me to ask some different stuff, but he's not the kind of guy that's going to give you a lot.
Yeah, even some of his answers are a little bit short, but I was happy that he did it.
Yeah, and I appreciate him giving me what he did. He didn't have to do it. He didn't have to answer any of them. So, I got what I could.
Well, I just want to compliment you because you're one of the only people that have been able to get him on record for anything. So I applaud the interview, and I thought it was very well done. So John and Brandie did this with two hands tied behind their back, but they still got some really interesting information. So let's check it out together, shall we? So this is from John Davis, True Crime. So I thought that was a great first question. Do you think that's, I'm like about to ask you the questions, not for Tim, but from your search. Do you find it odd that Tim, didn't want to tell you that, what his exact job was for Dawn Wells and Candus Blythe? Now, Candus Blythe didn't seem to be aware that she had a media manager, but what do you think Tim thinks his job is, John?
He gave me that answer. To me, I never heard of a media manager before this. I didn't realize such a position existed. Basically, I'm assuming what Tim does is handles the Summer Wells, findsummerwells.com website, which I will give it to him. It's very well done. He's got lots of pictures, information. I think he's even incorporated a couple of other flyers of other kids, stuff like that. So basically, I think a lot of people get the wrong impression of what he is doing as to what he's been accused of doing. A lot of people seem to think he's an agent, and that's not quite the situation. He's more like a social media manager is what I would refer to it as. He does YouTube and websites and Facebook, basically. That's what I got out of it.
Yeah.
I was just curious what you thought how he saw his job position. And I think social media manager probably would be like a title that people would be more accepting. I know I always use the air quotes when I describe him as a media manager because I don't really see him actually doing that job. What do you think he believes his job is? And do you have an opinion, Brandie, as to why you think that Candus didn't seem to know she had a media manager? That was wild.
Him and Dawn created the name. I think everybody's focusing on the name. I think they just came up with something, really, to call it. So
I got the idea he mostly interacts with Dawn.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
That's
too.
The way, the exchanges we've had. I don't think he's had much interaction with Candus.
Yeah, Candus didn't know a lot about it.
Right.
So I agree.
Well, let's continue on because this is a really interesting interview. I thought this was really interesting because Tim doesn't really say how long he knew Don Wells, and he just tells you it's in a long and boring videos. So he doesn't really want you to go look. I think a statement analyst would have a field day with that answer. What did you think about his answer on that one, John?
I thought, because I made it understood that I had planned on doing something with these questions that I was asking. And I thought, well, he's really not trying to plug his videos too hard when he admits they're long and boring. And to be completely honest, they kind of are, because I still haven't seen the answer to that question.
Yeah. He should have just came out and answered it.
Yeah. You know? I think it was shortly after Summer disappeared, though, is when they met.
It was a great question. What did you think, Brandie? Do you think that he was trying to discourage anybody from looking to see how he met Don and Candus, or how he knew them?
He could have, made it simple and just answered the question. So it's kind of weird how he put it. So yeah, calling his own videos boring. That's not.
Well, I give you guys so much props for getting the interview with him, because he has been not wanting to get on camera with anybody, but at least you guys got him to talk. So if you're not subscribed to John Davis True Crime, you will want to be. And please subscribe to Reporter Room as well. And we are talking right now about the Summer Wells case. We're going to be going back to the Kylie Rodni case in a little bit. But right now we're focused on the Summer Wells case, because John Davis True Crime got an interview with Don Wells' media manager, Tim Mullen. So let's continue on. And I just want to hold it right there for a second, because these 5 words jumped out at me. It is not a memorial. I was like, whoa. Good job, you guys, on getting this interview. It's not a memorial. That wasn't even part of your question, right?
Yeah, it wasn't. He seemed to really want to make sure that it was understood that nobody was saying Summer had passed, and that it was more in honor of her than to memorialize her.
Right.
Yeah, I just thought it was just like wild. You didn't even ask him that. You just asked what was the purpose, and then he came back with that.
Right.
So I was really surprised at his answer, because I'm thinking there's nothing in that question that talks about a memorial. And again, I think like Peter Hyatt or one of these statement analysts would have a field day with that. What did you think about that, Brandie? It's not a memorial.
Yeah, I think he want to put out there that he don't think Summer, is gone. So maybe to give everybody hope, but I don't know. I think he's already thought about that answer really a lot. So he had a good answer for the question.
He was ready for that one.
Yeah, I think
he was being his answer. So he didn't really say what was the purpose, I guess, except to just honor Summer, which I thought was, that's nice. But I think we've all had question marks about that trip out to Utah, right?
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah, it was the question was actually to ask him whose idea it was to do all that, because everybody, when that was done, was like, that just seems like, no more emotion and stuff than Don and Candus have shown. It seemed like such an odd thing. And I really assumed it was more his idea, and maybe he was trying to make them look a little better, but he's saying that it was their idea.
Yeah.
Very interesting. All right, well, let's continue on, guys, because this is a really great interview you guys did. So you asked him a straight up question. How did he learn about the Summer Wells case? Was it from church friends? And SDA, for those of you who don't know, is Seventh Day Adventist, which is the church that Dawn Wells and Candace Bly both were attending, uh, allegedly. I don't know. I see pictures of Candace sleeping in church. I'm not sure how into the church she really was. But do you think that Tim learned about Summer Wells and her disappearance from friends of his that attended the church, or do you think he learned about it from the media, watching television?
To be
John?
honest, I think the friends here he's referring to are Don and Candace. And you'll, like, one of the questions I ask him later, he kind of alludes to their friends, not clients.
Yeah.
So I think he meant Don and Candace. Is
Okay.
the only affiliation he had with the SDA church.
So you think that those were the friends that he's referring to in his comment?
Yeah.
Okay. What did you think, Brandie?
I agree because I shouldn't spoil it, but another question we asked, he did answer that they were friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this is a great interview. Let's continue on, guys. And if you're just joining me, this interview was done by John Davis True Crime, and we have as our special guests today John and Brandie Davis from John Davis True Crime. So he characterizes it as one of the silliest things that he's heard. That's kind of a little bit of a condescending, kind of mocking thing. But he says he won't speak bad about the stepsister, even though nobody's bringing her up, if she's the one that was pressed or manipulated by others to start or feed the rumor. So I felt like he kind of threw her under the bus and then tried to back over her. I don't know how successful it was by characterizing it as silly, and then that she must be manipulated, that it, what she, it couldn't be true.
Right.
What was your feeling on that, guys?
I felt like, well, when he said, when I got that back and I seen his answer, I never realized that that's where that had originated at. But the stepsister did kind of put it out there that she thought that could have been it. I wasn't aware of that until I seen his answer, and yet he's basically saying he feels like somebody manipulated her into maybe starting that as a rumor. But he's definitely heard it before, and I didn't expect him to answer that, period. And I was really shocked when he actually mentioned the stepsister in the answer.
Yeah, because you didn't bring it up, or it was like he was waiting to kind of trash her a little bit. What did you think about that answer, Brandie? Because I thought your answers that you got back were great.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's kind of throwing her under the bus, in my opinion, really. Because I really didn't know that's where the so-called rumor, I guess how you put it, started either. So I didn't have any clue.
Yeah, he could have just left that as, that's one of the silliest things I've ever heard. And I would agree with that, because I've always said nobody's getting ashes and taking them to Dr. Phil and, boarding this plane and all, going through all that. That's not happening. I didn't ever think that had happened either. But I thought it was a good question to ask just to see what his take would be. And I was really surprised when he mentioned the stepsister.
Yeah, that was just nowhere in your question, and I agree. It was wild. It was unexpected. But let's continue on, because this interview is just awesome. So you got Tim to admit that Don Wells did give him his cell phone when he went to prison. And we know that Candus was like fighting with Tim Mullen, according to her. And I don't know how much credibility she has to get the phone back. Why do you think that Don entrusted the phone to Tim over his own wife, Candus?
I don't think there was nothing on
Yeah.
the phone. I think it was
Me either.
just the cell phone. Because I don't even know if that was the same phone that he had when Summer went missing. Nobody can really for sure know that. And I'm thinking if he handed it off to Tim, there wasn't much on it. I don't know why you wouldn't give it to your wife first,
Yeah.
but I think it was more of a, I don't know if Dawn maybe wasn't expecting to go to jail that day and hadn't thought ahead about, you know, hey, I can't take this with me, and maybe, or you never know, maybe there was something on it and he damn sure didn't want it going into property at the jail, you know.
Yeah. Or maybe there was something he didn't want Candus to see. You know, nothing to do
wow.
with. Yeah, that's what maybe I'm thinking.
But you know, at one point in time, that was a big thing about this cell phone. And I thought I would, you know, throw a line out and see if he bit. And he did say, you know, yeah, Don, give me his cell phone. So
it was something we all wanted to know. How did he end up with the cell phone? And, you know, why was Candus, you know, so surprised? Thank you, May. That's so nice. So yeah, we were all so surprised that he did that. And then she was having to argue to try to get the cell phone back from him. And I guess she did finally get it back, but you know, and she was saying, I didn't even know we had a media manager. So that was such a great question, you guys. But let's continue on because this interview is great. Third time's a charm. So he says early on, he decided to believe that Summer simply stumbled upon someone and became the victim. And from then, he focused on professional media, not the case. So it seems like he tried to dodge your really good question by claiming to focus on professional media, not the case. Do you think that Tim has stuck his head in the sand, as we say in the United States, about Don and Candus?
I don't know. I mean, you can tell as we go along, he gives the impression, now whether he believes it or not, that he really doesn't think Dawn and Candus have anything to do with Summer's disappearance.
Right.
And you know, could that be because that's really what he thinks, or could it be because they're like his clients? And you know, of course, he's not going to throw them under the bus. I'm not sure. I thought I would ask and just see what we got.
Right.
And that's what we got. You know,
Great question.
Yeah.
What did you think, Brandie?
I think he kind of beats around the bush, if that's how you put it, but that's how I put it. But he'll answer a question, then you know, kind of contradict himself.
He kind of answers it without answering it.
Yeah, he does that a lot.
Yeah.
I would love to have him actually, interview on camera, but he wouldn't do it. But just to ask him some follow-up questions, you know.
Sometimes you just got to take what you guys can get, and you guys did a great job with what you were able to get from him, and you're the only ones who have gotten anything from him. So I give you so many props. Let's do one more, and then I'm going to ask you guys if you want to see the rest of this interview, and you're going to want to see it. I don't want to play the whole thing because I want you guys to watch the rest on John Davis True Crime because I think it's a great interview. If you're not already subscribed to John Davis True Crime, you will want to be. He is doing some great work, and so is Brandie on helping to find Summer Wells. They cover other cases too. They're awesome true crime content creators here on YouTube. And if you're not subscribed to Reporter Room, please subscribe. I'm trying to get us to 16,000 subscribers. All right, so let's go on to the next question. This one's really interesting. Whoa, so he literally doesn't answer. He tries to dodge your question, and then he proceeds to throw the interview room and try to characterize Chris McDonough, who's done really great interviews on the Summer Wells case, gotten probably some of the most important interviews on YouTube on the Summer Wells case. He goes on to try to say that he can't talk about the interview room or anybody being investigated, but he describes the interview room, which I think, have conducted themselves very ethically. And Chris McDonough has a great channel, as being an entertainment channel. And we do describe ourselves as being entertainment and educational purposes only, as a disclaimer. But why do you think he wouldn't answer your simple, basic yes or no question, John?
I'm not sure. It seemed like to me he doesn't want to. It seems like to me he's dodging a lot of stuff that could possibly look bad on Dawn.
Yeah, maybe protecting him.
He's really, I get the feeling he's trying to be protective of Dawn. And, I like Chris McDonough, and I think he's done a lot of good interviews and stuff. But if Dawn Wells walks out of a jail cell on October 30th and Utah does not pick him up, I feel like Chris McDonough misled us a little bit on the circumstances of what was going on in Utah. And
so you feel like maybe he has a fair point with the Utah thing, because yeah, you're right. We're all waiting for him to get picked up and be extradited to Utah.
Yeah, and that's where that came about.
And that come from, the interview room. And
yeah.
I'm sorry, but I've really researched statutes and everything I can find. Dawn is not going to be extradited to Utah.
You don't think?
No.
Oh my gosh.
What was it? How
I hate to,
right.
Every time I say this, I try to throw a disclaimer behind it. I'm not saying I don't think he deserves to. Okay.
No.
If everything we know is true, then yes, he should be. But the way I have understood it is, after so much time goes by, this becomes a civil matter, not a criminal matter.
Right.
That's the way it reads to me, and that's the way Kraken Cases seems to understand it too. And I don't think Chris McDonough really explained that. He had me feeling like they had questioned Dawn, and Dawn had stuck his foot in his mouth. I mean, Dawn said so much stuff on YouTube himself, on Voices Behind the Wall and bunches of other channels, where he's basically admitted to everything they would be charging him for. But the way I understand it is the statute of limitations thing, there's no statute of limitations, but there's some kind of clause to where it switches from criminal to civil after so long.
So
and a lot of people are expecting Dawn to not come out of jail, and I'm just trying to warn these people, don't
get your hopes up.
Don't get your hopes up and be destroyed when on October 30th you see him walk out the front door of Hawkins County Jail.
And to be clear, the interview room's just giving us the information as they're getting it, which is what you're supposed to do. You want to bring forth all the information you have, and if this is what the stepsisters are telling you, this is what you're going to report out to your audience. Right. So I just want to give props to that channel as well, because I do think that he's done a good job. But I also agree with you. I do think I will be surprised. I hope I'm wrong, but I will be surprised also to see if he's extradited. I don't see it happening.
Right.
I mean,
Because
you're
I
looking
think
at
I
40
think that if
years.
he was, we would have learned something about Summer.
Yeah.
They really stuck to
Yeah.
their guns on this, right?
Right.
So much time has gone by.
Yeah.
So
40 years is a long time. I mean, it's hard to charge somebody with murder after 40 years, much less something else. Even though Don himself
admitted
has
to it.
put out as much evidence as I think any prosecutor would.
Sorry, John, go ahead.
No, it's okay.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
No, I'm just working. I've never been on StreamYard. This is my first time, but I had to switch streaming services because I was having technical glitches with my other streaming service. So I switched to them. So I was trying to upload your next video while you were talking, and I didn't realize it was going to play. So I apologize. Go ahead. Continue on.
I forgot where I was at.
We're talking
I
about
messed you up.
I don't remember. Go ahead. Go ahead.
That's okay. All right, well, let's play this because I took the one that was the highlights. Now, John has been going out, and then you can hear him say in one of his videos, he talks right to Sheriff Ronnie Lawson saying, look, this is how easy it is to go and search. And he's gone out and been conducting his own searches for Summer Wells. And it has taken him into some kind of scary situations. And this is one where I don't know, John, I kind of have to say this was a nail biter. I'm not sure you should just be out there doing this, by yourself. I think you should maybe have a couple of bodyguards with you or something like that, because those noises and then seeing, well, I'll let the video speak for itself. Let's continue on, guys. If you're just joining us, my guests are John Davis and Brandie Davis from John Davis True Crime, and this is his video, and we are covering the Summer Wells case. We just finished doing the Kylie Rodni case, and we're going to touch on that a little bit at the end, but we're right in the throes of the Summer Wells case, and this is John Davis True Crime video. So let's continue on.
This stuff. Now we're a good ways up in here. These are they look like pots to me that somebody has probably had plants in, if I had to guess. Like, some of this stuff's fairly heavy. It'd be hard to get it all the way up in here. So that's interesting. Now look at this shit. That is like 10 buckets stacked in together. That is so weird how that sticks out. It looks like some kind of powder's been spilled here.
So I got to tell you, John, this part really scared me because I feel like you came upon something with the pots, the empty pots and the powder all over the ground. I feel like you came up on something that maybe somebody didn't want you to see, and that maybe somebody was watching you. Were you scared?
I wasn't scared, but I tell you, that whole place, and I've spent 8+ hours there, has a really weird vibe to it. And I fully believe that what I was seeing was signs of an illegal marijuana grow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel scared for him, Brandie, when he's going out searching for Summer?
I didn't know about this one, but yeah, the next time he went, I made him take somebody. I'm not going in the woods, but he did take somebody with him. So
good. Yeah, this is really scary stuff. It's really scary. Well, let's continue on, guys. This is really good.
It's really weird looking stuff. But prepared now. Better prepared. Better prepared. That sounded kind of man-made. That was close.
Okay, so do you think it was like a bear, or do you think there was somebody kind of following you along, watching you? Because it almost feels like there's somebody like maybe going parallel in your periphery, maybe following along to see where you're going. Who are you? What are you doing there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a lot of people that watched the full video where I didn't edit much of it at all. And it sounds like every time I stop, you hear like two more footsteps, like there is somebody right behind me. And you know, I'm no sissy, but I'm telling you, that place it's unnerving. I've been in the woods all my life. I'm a country boy, and it's the loudest place I've ever been ever.
Right.
So what do you think that bang was?
I have no idea, and it really does it no justice on camera. To me, that sounded like somebody had the bumper of an old truck, smacked it against a tree. It didn't sound like wood.
Right.
It was really peculiar. Lots of people are begging me to go back and at night and Sasquatch hunt, but I don't know if I'm quite that.
No.
Wow. So what made you choose this location to search for summer wells?
I got an email from a lady that is intuitive, and it wasn't as far away from me as other, because I asked one time on a live, I said, if anybody, I'll try anything at this point.
Right.
You know, I'm open-minded. And they told me they felt like there's definitely something there that has something to do with summer. And the more I've thought about it since then, I feel like maybe the illegal pot growing thing is what's going on with Summer's case, that they're not letting people search and trying to hide and all this.
Well, I'm getting asked to ask you in chat, do you think that it could be lime to cover decomp?
I got a lot of that.
The white powder.
Yes. A lot of people in my comments said that. And I actually have a little bit of it I saved, and we're working on that. I think it could have been fertilizer. It could have been for fertilizer or for, decomp.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, let's continue on, guys. Let's continue on.
There's a mark on that tree. You see that? What the hell is this?
What was that?
I don't know.
Just random.
That's an ATV, and that is close. Really don't want to meet whoever's riding it. Let's go this way.
So you guys found some stuff. So it looks like this time when you went out, because I'm playing the highlights, guys, there's individual videos on his channel of everything. And this reminds me of like the Blair Witch Project when I saw the letter R carved on that tree. What did you think when you saw that, Brandie? And were you upset when he got home that he was like just out there in the woods? How scary that was?
Yeah, yeah. The first time I really didn't know he was going. The second time I did, and he took somebody with him. But I don't know. I think it's not safe. I don't like them back in the woods, anyways. But I don't know. I didn't like him going really.
What you don't get from the video though is I am way, way deep in these woods, and that's why I think it's so weird. And like I show on there on the video, all these trails are blocked. It's like there's a tree that it either has been purposely put over the trail or not. And then I start hearing four-wheelers, and I am miles and miles deep into well, not miles, but I'm way in here. And there it's hard to explain all the stuff that's going on. It's really weird.
I think the marking on the trees for something. Nobody just marks the tree like that.
Yeah.
So.
It was almost like somebody was marking their territory, right?
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's continue on, guys. Let's continue on.
Is that a sleeping bag? Sleeping bags? Pull that up. Let's see what it is. Be careful. It could be a snake underneath it or something. What is that? It's a jacket, right? That is a thick-ass jacket, too, isn't it? Is that what it is? What's this thing down here? Pick it up. Be careful. Yeah. See what this is. Another blanket? That is wild. Why would they leave their blankets out here?
So it almost seems like whatever was in those woods, you guys, that somebody was sleeping there and possibly guarding it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that your take on it too?
I got the feeling too. They were there when it was really cold because that one jacket it's really thick,
Right.
and there was blankets. I found a ton of blankets. Found a lot of stuff. The next thing I found is coming up, and it was the weirdest thing I thought.
All right. Well, let's show and let's see what you found next, John.
Where? Wow. Oh. Did you hear that?
Yeah. More branches falling. Looks like a beanie.
Looks like two things. There's two things. What is that? And we did find something else. A pillow. Is that a pillow?
Yeah.
Wow.
So who is out in the middle of the woods with a ski mask to like
That's weird.
a pillow, jacket, blankets? Like what are they guarding? What did you think when you found all that stuff?
I thought it was so weird how far back in there I found it. And that stuff had been there quite a while. You can tell when I'm pulling it up, it's like rooted into the ground. It's grown into the blanket and the pillows and stuff. And, I've had probably 100 comments asking me if I thought that could be Summer's pillow that went missing from the truck. I don't think so. It seems like to me all that was somebody at one time was staying out there in what I would assume was really cold weather.
Yeah.
Given the blankets, the ski mask, the jacket, and all that. It's really odd stuff.
So why were they out there in the cold weather and what were they guarding? Well, let's continue on, guys.
out here in the middle of no damn where, a pillow, and that's what it is. Gotta pick them up, make sure there ain't nothing underneath them. Oh, look at that. That looks like a big ass snake hole or something, don't it? Look at this shit. Now this could be totally coincidence, right? Look at that. Alright. It's like two V's, or I don't know. That just looks like a big ass coincidence to me. You know what? Yes. Oh hell, you want to know something bad? They say boulder fields are a bad omen. That's what Dave Pilatus is always saying.
Who is Dave Pilatus?
It's Dave Pilatus. He does missing 411 videos about missing people in the national parks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. Hi, Dave.
That's one reason I don't go into the forest.
I didn't know who he was. I've never heard of him before. I got so engrossed in that I forgot to ask. I had all these questions. So in a few minutes, John is going to find some rocks arranged under the tree. All right, let's continue on, guys.
Like for some reason, a lot of missing 411 comes up around missing boulder, or in boulder fields. Now, I don't know if I think there's anything to that, but this sure is a very rocky region, ain't it? Compared to what we've seen everywhere else. It's like there are tons of rocks in here. I don't know if it qualifies a boulder field, but compared to what we've been seeing, it's pretty raw, ain't it? I mean, just odd looking formations too. I know. Everything up here creeps me out, I'm telling you. It's a lot of shit. Look, they just pop out of the ground now everywhere. And I know that's probably just a geologic thing, but look at this shit. Those rocks, there is no way in hell that's natural, is it? Ain't that weird?
That whole rock formation, guys, it just reminds me out of the Blair Witch Project.
Yeah.
It just it does not look like it formed naturally to me. That's what I kept thinking about when I was like, I don't know if you guys have seen that movie in the chat, but it's like very, very scary. What did you think when you saw that, and what did you think they meant? Was it like a signal to someone, or would you think it was?
Like the one point, there's this big thick tree, and it looks like the boulders are growing out of the base of it. And then the tree beside it, there's little rocks all the way around it. Some people have commented that that's signs of like stuff that Bigfoot is common to see. I don't know. The trail markers I thought was really weird because those were like two perfect TP looking formations, and I actually accidentally, and it's in the full video, I accidentally knocked one of them over. I put it back just in case. I didn't want to mess the juju up, and next thing you know, Bigfoot walked through one of them and get me.
Oh my gosh.
It's really odd, that place. I'm going back because it's so deep, the directions I got to where I needed to be. Like I was 4.5 hours in one direction, and I did not want to be in there in the dark. And I'm trying to map out a way to come in from a different area.
And to be clear, for you guys that are just joining us, John Davis True Crime, this is his video. Him and Brandie are here. They're our special guests tonight. And if you're not subscribed to them, you'll want to be. And he is out searching actively for summer wells. And he was directed to this particular location. And am I right when I say like a mentalist or a psychic or something like that?
Intuitive is
Intuitive.
Yeah.
Okay, so an intuitive person referred you to this site to look for summer, and you found a ski mask, pillow, blanket, jacket, like maybe somebody was guarding something there, weird markings on the trees,
Yeah.
powder or lime possibly on the ground.
Right.
It's crazy. It's really, really crazy. So he comes across a barrel in a second, you guys, and I'm curious to ask you, what was it about the barrel that creeped you out so much? Was it because of the for sale barrel that we've seen on the videos with Summer, or was it something else?
It was the location.
Out in the middle of nowhere.
Because the barrel to me, and a lot of people got on to me, they're like, you didn't even look at it. I cut this footage down from like 10 hours to 40 minutes. So, I did look into it a lot more than what you see on the video. But
Yeah.
the barrel looked extremely in good condition compared to all the stuff I was finding way out where it was located. Because it was in a lot further than the blankets and the other stuff.
Wow. So I'm seeing in the chat, people are just doing mess saying she would take sage to sage the thing. I'm seeing ritualistic in there. Yeah. So, all right, well, let's continue on, guys. This is really good.
I know that's man-made. It has to be. There's not a doubt in my mind. Damn. Getting close to that dog, wherever it is. Balloon. This is where somebody's wedding balloons ended up or something. Wow. I can't believe it made it through all of that to get down here. Check that shit out. One piece of barbed wire.
It's inside the tree.
There's more.
I think that's natural though, because trees will grow over stuff over time. They won't move.
That's still weird. It's in the tree in two places like that, ain't it?
Must be really old.
Why here? And that's...
What the heck is that barrel doing out in the middle of nowhere, and what were they using it for?
Your guess is as good as mine. I don't know. And like at the point where that barrel was, there's no trail or road real close to that. So how you got the barrel in there that far? Somebody was definitely motivated. And a lot of people have said, well, maybe there was a steal there. Well, there's no water in the area near the barrel. And usually moonshiners will set up near you got to have a water source. Yeah. And there was no water source anywhere near that. So the barrel didn't make sense. A lot of people said the purple balloon looked like the ones they released for summer.
Oh.
I don't want to give my spot away because I'm going back, but I don't think so. But I don't know.
Yeah, don't give your spot away because you could run into some other kind of issue too, where you just.
Yeah.
But does this worry you at all, Brandie, that he's out just conducting his own searches, or you know him? You may have him take somebody with him the second time, and you feel more secure now?
Yeah. I think he's fine if he had somebody with him. So
the first one, you guys, I watched the whole thing from the beginning to the end. He's by himself in the woods, and you can hear what sounds like somebody walking along kind of to his periphery. You can hear this. And I thought, is it a bear? Is it a person? And I don't know which one I would be more scared of. Probably a person.
I'd be more scared of the person. That's what I'm
Yeah.
afraid of running into, is running up on somebody's marijuana operation and getting shot
Right.
at that.
Right.
So, yeah.
People are crazy.
All right. Well, let's continue on.
That's weird.
There's an old looking foundation right there.
Was it empty?
This looks like a very old foundation for something.
House. Maybe it's old house. The water tank.
Smoke cabin or
The
something.
water tank.
It was weird.
Oh, I had a gas, like the old tank of gas.
Because if he was going to catch us, he could have caught us.
More branches falling.
That didn't sound like no branch to me. Did it to you?
I don't know.
You were out of there after that, huh?
Yeah, it was time to go home. I had enough of that for the day.
Or we muted?
No, we're not.
Can you see us?
Sorry guys, thanks for the hand wave. Okay, so if you want to see the whole video, it's on his channel. He has a couple of videos like this, and what I did was I showed you the version of what he condensed together with the things that he found. But the first one, when he's out there by himself, I don't know, I was like getting like chewing my nails off. It was really, really nerve-wracking to just see him out there and just, realize he's alone. He's out in the middle of nowhere, and anybody could be out there. And for those of you that are just joining us, my special guests tonight are John Davis, True Crime. John Davis and Brandie Davis are both here with us today. And we just finished watching John's video that he did, where he is literally going out and searching for summer wells in the woods. And just really, really scary stuff. Really scary stuff, you guys. So what was the most scariest thing that you found out there?
I don't know. The ski mask thing was creepy because
Yeah.
it was really, it kind of looked like it matched Freddy Krueger's sweater. Like if he had a matching ski mask, I got the feeling that's what it looked like.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was creepy. Definitely.
But that, that's kind of the direction we've been trying to go in, is more proactive stuff. And, right now I'm trying to get search certifications. And, I've decided, to me, Ronnie Lawson can just kiss butt, because if we got the property owner's permission, I do not see where he can do anything about people searching for summer. So that's what I'm trying to do, is get certified to search. And then, we can, if you can get a property owner's permission, like there's a lot of different people that own land around Ben Hill to go search. I think, it'd be more proactive than talking about nonsense.
Yeah.
Yeah. People are asking you to take a dog with you. I don't know if it's for protection or if it's because, they're hoping you can track something. But he is trying to get search certified, you guys. So that would be the next step after that, would be getting a dog and training there, right?
Right.
Yeah, but I think, go ahead.
If you watch I talk about the dog, the whole time I'm out there, it's like there's a dog somewhere out in the middle of these woods. And both times I went, I heard this dog. And I've looked at this from Google Maps and everything. There are no houses anywhere near that area. And that's why a lot of people have told me that the dogs are a lot of the times what they use to protect the grow. That's why I'm waiting before I go back until harvest season's over, and probably after hunting season, because, I got to be kind of smart. I don't want to get shot by an accidental hunter or, somebody out there doing something nefarious.
Yeah.
I understand, and I don't want nobody wants that. And I hope I'm glad you took somebody with you the second time you went out, because I got to say the first one I watched, I was like really like nerve wracked. I mean, I knew you made it back because you made the video, but I was really like, kind of just was wearing my shoulders for earrings, just worrying about you out there. And I thought, oh my gosh, Brandie is going to probably kill him when she sees this video.
Yeah.
That she doesn't like watching it. That's what she watched just now is probably about as much of it as she's seen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, Brandie. I
No,
didn't
you're
mean
fine.
to
No, you're
make
fine.
you feel bad or scare you. I do think it is scary. So they wanted to know, could you think it could have been a dog that was following you around, John?
No, I got a feeling that the dog was trying to stay between me and where I wanted to go, is what it seemed like. And the guy that was with me said the same thing, because he understood what we were trying to achieve. And he's like, every time we get going in that direction, it seems like the dog moves with us. So I don't know.
It's kind of weird because there's nothing around there, and he's really far in the middle of the woods.
Yeah, it's deep in the woods for there to be a dog.
Yeah.
I don't think there's wild dogs in that area, and it's hard to a lot of it's hard to explain.
Yeah, very strange. But that gives you like a look, even if Summer's not there, but what could be in the woods and around where she lived,
Right.
People doing,
That's a great point. If she did wander away, and we know from what Jose Roman told us that she was known to wander, then there could have been something out there. And now we've learned just how fallible police are. I think we all, maybe had some stars in our eyes with the Summer Wells case when they said that they searched. But
right,
now we're learning, with Kylie Rodni, she was right there.
right.
She was right there, and
I
they
think
missed it.
Yeah, I think that's what kind of triggered us to search, was kind of Kylie's case. And I've heard some other cases where it's been searched supposedly 3 and 4 times, and then next thing you know, bam, there they are, they pop up. And it makes you wonder if there ain't a lot of people getting overlooked in some of these searches.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that's, kind of the takeaway that we're all getting from the Kylie Rodni case, and is that, law enforcement is not infallible, and it is not perfect, and there is human error. It is human
Right.
beings, and there is room for human error. There's room for, cutting corners. And, here we have social media sleuths, John Davis True Crime, out there looking for Summer Wells. And I give you guys a lot of props for that. If you are not subscribed to John Davis True Crime, you definitely will want to be. Also, please subscribe to Reporter Room if you enjoyed this video. And I want to thank everybody for coming today. I do want to give a special shout out to our executive producers, our producers, our channel members, and thank you to John and Brandie Davis from John Davis True Crime for being our special guest tonight. It's been such an honor to have you on. I really am grateful for all of your excellent sleuthing, and I look forward to learning more what you guys are going to do next in the future, and learning more about that and having you guys on again. It has been a definite pleasure. And thank you to all of our subscribers. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to Reporter Room, and also to John and Brandie Davis over at John Davis True Crime. Thanks for watching, you guys, and I will see you next time. Thank you, John. Thank you, Brandie.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Jessica.
Thank
We'll
you.
see you soon.
Okay, sounds good.